Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, the betting finalized card of the British Open weather update, DraftKings ownership, I guess, update, and maybe some wave stacks as we talk about the weather, plus all of your questions. Before I get into the giveaway winners and the new giveaways and everything like that, I want to bring in Reid Fowler. I'm giving you the floor for 1 minute off the top from DK Live. Tell me what you're seeing about this British Open, because no one's heard from you yet this week.
Score is going to be. I think if you look at temperate or weather that's not going to be as inclement as we've seen in the past, then it probably ranges from that like 16 to 18 under number. That brings in a lot more guys. If we get that 5 or 7, minus 5 or 7 or minus 5, minus 8 number, I think then like a Kevin Kisner starts to become someone that I'm looking at as well. But when you just look at all the content that's out there, there's a lot of good information that obviously you guys are putting out at the PME. When you just look at all the trends, right, the older golfers being the ones that we're touting, I also think there's some young guns out there that could potentially show up, especially on the Euro side. So got a couple of those at the slate at the beginning come Thursday. But I think a lot is to be said too about saving some of your cash or saving some of your bankroll to see how this plays out on Thursday, because I think when you look at the weather Monday, Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, it's changed drastically. So I think there's a lot to be said to that as well.
All right, so let's get into the giveaway winners. The winner of the annual membership to fantasynational.com is Blay. He's already been contacted. So, hey, congratulations to you, Blay. Thank you, everyone, for sharing everything around. Now, the big time, the $1,000 in giveaways for DraftKings dollars. And, hey, your account should already have been credited for all of this money. The winners of 20 DK Bucks, we have Nate Knox, J Moore 123, Smoking Guns 40, Warren Burner 660, RP Hayes 05, Meth X Man 2004, Willie 24MC, Ketter 7, Billy Mac 14, Stu Bear 21, AGT 123, Free Drop Billy, and the Muckle Shuffle. All winners of 20 DK dollars. The winners of 50 DK dollars. Adam Brown 2102, Big Bruiser, D. Kaufman, 61. Hopefully no relation to A. Kaufman, 59, however old Adam Kaufman is. M. Scorpio. Those are the winners of 50 DK dollars. The winners of 100 DK dollars. Luron, Scott Thunder, and Jack B1. And the big winner of 250 DraftKings dollars in your account right now, it is M. Grills, 21. So those are your winners. Congratulations. If you want to get into a draw this time around for next week, obviously, there are 3 ways to do so. You smash the like button for the video, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and tell me who you think is going to be the best pick from beyond 50 to 1. No favorites on here. From beyond 50 to 1 in the betting market, the best chance to win this week. If you leave an iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify review, 5 stars for the Pat Mayo Experience, DraftKings handle something nice about the show, boom, you're in that draw too. Plus, if you go to my Instagram page, any golf-related content or football-related content, I suppose. It's all going to end up being the same draw that goes up there. Follow my Instagram account at the PME. And just leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section. Give it a quick heart, too, while you're at it. Got to have that engagement. The Cut Sweat Show live with Jeff Feinberg and friends will be on Friday. We're thinking around noon Eastern time, but we'll figure it out on Thursday, and I'll post it on Twitter when we're actually going to go live. So if you got some time to kill at work on Friday and you can't watch the golf, or you're watching the golf like a loser alone, you can come hang with your friends, me, Jeff, and our friends. It'll just be like kicking back. We'll have some live bets. We'll have some showdown talk. All of that fun stuff will be available. Let's get in. Actually, Reid, I want to hear from you right now. Who are you betting for the British Open?
Yep, I got. So when you talk about that 50 and over, I think I got Paul Casey on Sportsbook right now at 50. I think he's at 50 or 55 to 1. I really like that number. Webb Simpson is another guy at 66 to 1 that I like, getting the each way there. And then I don't know why I'm doing this, but you see him a lot on the links courses. Hao Tong Lee at 125 to 1. Webb and then Hao Tong, I got the each ways. But I mean, Ricky is always a bet that I'm willing to burn money on, the same way you're with like Luke List and these guys in Benny Ann. But those are my long shots, and then Ricky up top there. And then if you can get DJ at whatever number that you're seeing, like double-digit number, I think that's a good value spot as well.
All right. Well, I didn't go with many of those guys whatsoever. My outright winner, I took Stenson at 30. I should have hit it like 3 weeks ago, but I didn't. So I'm going with Henrik Stenson. I got Justin Thomas at 40-1. I got Rafa Cabrera Bello at 70-1 with the top 8 each way, and Mark Leishman at 70-1 with the top 8 each way. Those are going to be my 4 plays. Not going near the top of the board. I'm going to see how this plays out. I actually invested my money in a whole bunch of to make and to miss the cut parlays this week, just because I thought it was going to be more fun. And that way I could bet like, $5 instead of betting like $100 on everything, because I've just been losing so much. I actually want to have money left over in my bankroll after the fact. I did play some other stuff. 2 bombs. I got Danny Willett at 125-1 with the top 8 each way, and Jazz, the sexy jazz man, 300-1 with the top 8 each way. And of course, I'm playing List and See Woo at 300-1 as well, because I always do. Top 20s, I got Benny Ann at 7-1, Jazz at 9-1, Chan Kim at 16-1, and Mike Lorenzo Vera at 12-1. On the Corn Ferry Tour, I got Johnny Oda at 75-1 with the top 5 each way. The exact finish, I don't know why I played this, but when I looked, I was like, I don't remember betting on this, but I did. I have Adam Scott directly over Henrik Stenson at 850-1, so I'm good if that comes through. A country parlay. Connor's top Canadian, Olesen top Dane, Lorenzo Vera top French, plays 11.5-1 in the first round leaders, all starting at 125-1 and beyond up the list. I got Ann, Jazz, Lorenzo Vera, and Griot at 125, List at 150, Pavon at 175, Connors, Chan Kim, Kang, and Xander Lombard at 200-1, and Callum Shinkwin at 250. All of those played with the top 5 each ways. My one and done is Adam Scott. Feinberg's is Matt Kucha, and Cuss is Mark Leishman. I'm tailing Cust here. Maybe he's got some good mojo. Would you ever tail Cust on a bet? Because I made this before I knew Cust had picked Mark Leishman.
I mean, in the big tournaments, he's been right. if you're looking at like the John Deere, the 3M, then no. But in these bigger majors, I mean, he's called some guys. So I don't think that's a bad tail right there.
All right, so let's talk about the weather. Do you have the Portrush Wind Finder open right now?
I do. Yes, I do.
So it keeps It keeps changing all the time. Like every 3 hours, it kind of changes. Amanda Rose at Amanda Golf 59 on Twitter is out there right now taking videos live from the course, and it's like a hurricane going on. It's like freezing, and then it stops raining, and it's not so cold. Then it's just super gusty. So I talked about micro stacking in the other shows if people want to check that out, but I think, honestly, we're not going to be able to predict the wind. T-stacking will theoretically work because it puts you in a good position to get lucky, but I don't know. Tomorrow looks pretty even, looks kind of gusty. Friday looks like, and Saturday looks kind of calm, and Sunday just looks like an absolute disaster. Right now, yesterday it looked like Friday was like unplayable, and so was Saturday, and Sunday was calm. So I think the best you can do is just kind of hope for the weather being accurate up to the minute on Thursday and just roll with that.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important, especially in this tournament, that we always see at the British, right, is that the weather can change, especially at this course when it's on a coast, at a moment's notice. And if you just follow any of the main media channels or just even here, you'll see that, we're routinely checking the weather. And you're mentioning Thursday, yeah, it looks like there's more wind towards the afternoon wave. But even then, when you look at just in terms of getting an advantage, Friday is pretty pedestrian. So it's not necessarily for those to make the cut parlays. That might be a little bit hard to decipher. And that's why I think it's important to save some bullets and to really dial it back. I know you just rattled off a huge card there, and that's exciting. And more power to you if you get all those. But I'm looking at Showdown a lot more than entering the max, like the Millie, for instance. I'd rather scale it back a little bit just because that weather can change, and you just don't know.
Yeah, following the weather report, especially with lineup lock being at 1:35 a.m. Eastern time, you're going to have a huge advantage if you just stay up and you can track that day's weather, especially in Showdown or even head-to-heads if you can get an early guy versus a later guy. I mean, the 2 balls and the 3 balls, that's not going to work out because those guys are paired together. But I think that's an interesting strategy. I mean, I did reel off a lot of stuff, but I didn't hit the top of the board, so I actually, as opposed to my weekly bankroll, I actually spent, with the make the cut parlays, it made up for it. I made 10 of them. There's actually if you hit the comment section to this video right now, or just check out my Instagram, my Twitter, or my Facebook, those to make and to miss the cut parlays. There's even some combos up there too. I just had more fun. I woke up really early with the baby, so I was like, I got 2 hours to kill. Let's make some parlays. So that's what I get up to in the mornings with my kids in the Jolly Jumper. So I do have some bullets to fire because I stayed away from anyone. below 30 to 1. And I only played 4 guys from that 100 to 1 below range that it didn't eat up as much as my bankroll as I normally do. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. The problem is we're not going to have a whole lot of strokes gain data. It's going to take a big eye test to see which players are playing well. And even if people look at something like putts per green, that might not be completely indicative because you're like, oh, this guy is, he's putting so hot. He's averaging 1.1 putts per green, but he just might be missing every green in regulation. He chips to 2 feet and makes the putt every single time. Like, those stats are super hard to decipher when we don't have strokes gain data. Oh, as a note for everyone, you should be using theopen.com and download the Open app if you plan on tracking this in real time. Remember how horrible trying to track on PGA is for these majors?
Yeah, it's the worst. And you mentioned it in some of your talks this week, and the guy's name is I can't remember it right now, but you're saying, the technology has yet to catch up with the PGA Tour. And, to the credit of what your guest was talking about, I think earlier or late last week, it was like, hey, look, this is an older demographic. So they're not using the apps, right? They're not even using the website. It's probably just watching and probably not playing DFS. But absolutely, download the app, follow through, because when you look at Shot Tracker and you look at any of these other ones, it's terrible. All
right, so we'll jump into the YouTube chat first. Let's see. Jesse says, 5 players in the field finished in the top 18. I don't care. That's not a fucking question. You're banned for life. That's not a good start to this chat. If you're not asking a question, I'm going to throw this out here right now, and you have some stupid fucking commentary that I don't care about, no one else cares about, you're banned for life, and I don't give a fuck. Next one. Does it make sense? Let's see. Kisner. Is he a sneaky GPP play? Plays well in the win, has gotten progressively better each of the British Opens. You like Kevin Kisner, right? He's not on my radar. I didn't like the way that his overall game looked at the Scottish last week, but he's a guy no one's going to be using.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of falls in that like Patrick Reed, who doesn't really. I mean, his the last 12 rounds is actually not too bad. Patrick Reed is. Even Kevin Kisner, he kind of falls in that category, right? Of these guys who kind of get up for the majors. If we think, and that's why I think it's so important to reiterate, like if the weather is looking like it's going to change, Kevin Kisner is a guy that right now, if I'm looking at just building 20 lineups or so, Kevin Kisner is going to make 2 of those lineups, because if I look at that range, like Hao Tong is the only other guy that I like, and then going down to that 6K range are more guys that I'd rather put some more stake in. So Kevin Kisner at 7,300 is not a bad play for me at all.
All right, next one. Let's see here. Jack says, Paul Waring, a potential GPP guy at 6.6K, top 10 here in 2012 and playing great golf. Didn't play such great golf when I rostered him at the Scottish last week. He got MDF'd. That was no fun. I think that was him. It was him or Forrest. No, I can't remember. I think it was Waring. No for me. I like Jazz at 6,600 if I'm going to a guy.
Yeah, the guy at 6,600 that I like is Romain Langasque, and I butchered his name. He's French, so I might leave that to you to pronounce his name. He's a guy that.
Oh, you mean my main man, Romain Langasque?
There we go. That's how you say it. Yeah, exactly.
I did. If the wind comes, I just put my cigarette up and look at the smoke and see which way it goes, and then you cannot touch me because I am French. I am the greatest of all time, and I do not care what any of you think out there, huh? So that would be a guy not to take. Mike Lorenzo Vera is the Frenchman to take.
Yeah, I mean, like Frenchman and at the British might not be a good play, but hey, look, he's playing really good. I mean, he hit, I think, close to 90% of fairways last week or the week before. He plays links courses. I think in the last 5 tournaments, he's got 2 top 3s. 2015 amateur champion. So there's some stats behind that. Like he's got no experience at the British. So if you easily want to fade the guys that have never played here before, I completely get it. But looking at the 6K range, like you're mentioning, there are some guys out there that not a lot of these casual golfers are or casual players at DFS are going to look at. And Roman, however you pronounce it, he's the guy that I like.
What are Wallace's and Casey's ownership? We got Casey coming in anywhere from 11.5% to 14.5%, and Wallace from 8 to 12%. The hard projection has him at 9.3 right now, but you give or take 2 on either side with some of these fringier guys, but they're not unowned. Like Louis is coming in at lower ownership than both of those guys. So instead of taking either one of those 2, I ended up going to Louis. Will you have any Casey or any Matt Wallace?
Casey, I'll have some, but Matt Wallace is interesting. I think I played him here last year, or not here especially, but at this tournament last year, and he was like in the 6K range. And so we know that he's playing extremely well. We've seen it. Obviously, he's playing extremely well. That price tag is not going to have a lot of guys on him, but between those 2, it's definitely going to be Casey for me.
Mike says, you're alive after your heart attack on air at Tyler yesterday. I mean, that was a lot of fun. People are putting that around. But, Mike, you really broke the cardinal rule. That's not a question. So you're banned for life. We haven't done this in a while. I got to ban a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Favorite play at $7,100 or lower? It's probably Jazz. I do like Ben Ann, but that's just stupid. But that's just me being an idiot. I'll say the Jazz man. Who's your favorite play below 7,100?
If it's not our boy Langask, Charlie Hoffman. Charlie Hoffman putting like absolute hot garbage. He's someone at 6,700 that I'm looking at a lot in terms of leverage points.
Let's see. Rory and ZJ or Scott and Rose? I would go with Scott and Rose from that bunch over ZJ and Rory.
Yeah, same here.
Okay. In on Kokrak as a low-owned pivot? Question mark? That's a weird way to construct a sentence. But no, I'm not. Are you?
No.
You say yup or no?
Oh, no, I'm out. I mean, he's ball striking, but no way.
Yeah. Any worries about Paul Casey being paired with Rory in the massive crowds? I tend not to look at any of that stuff. Like, do you worry about who guys are playing with or if there's a big crowd? Like, I just think back to when Sam Burns beat Tiger at the Honda Classic in the final round. It was just like, oh, yeah, so he didn't care. But it affects everyone else, but Sam Burns is immune. Like, there's no way to quantify any of this stuff.
No, and then you saw like Rory, I think, and JT really play bad. I forget what tournament that was. I think it was the same tournament that Sam Burns played with him on the weekend, but I don't worry about any of that stuff.
Which 6K guy will win someone $1 million this week? I reckon it's your main man, Romaine Lettuce. But like I said, Jazz is probably my preferred play from down there, but I am using shares of Pavon, Corey Connors, Xander Lombard, and my main man, Chan Kim. You in on Chan Kim or what?
No, I'm not in on Chan Kim. Come on, give me a break. He's putting it well, right? He's putting it well. I think what is he, the min price?
He's $6,100.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you're hammering like Brooks, DJ, and Rory, he gives you a ton of salary relief. But like I said, my main man, Romaine Lettuce down there. I mean, I think there's another guy that I wanted to get your pronunciation on, Herbert. Benjamin Herbert, I think he's another one that I like as well, Matt.
I mean, I'm telling you, it's Mike Lorenzo Vera is the French man that I want to use. I don't want to use any of these other French. Imagine having two French in your lineup. That sounds like a disaster. It sounds like your team it's like in blackjack. If you get the option to surrender, that lineup might surrender.
Yeah, I know. They might stand on like 16 when the guy's showing two tens, or no, a 10. But look, I mean, like I said, this tournament, the cream rises to the crowd at the top here, and like you want to get these bullets if you're looking at outright bets. I think when you look at DFS, right, you got to take some of these guys down here. That 7K range, not as enticing as we've seen, I think, in past majors. I think the 8K range is really where all the juice is, but I like a lot of these guys in the 6K range.
Let's see, Day or Decky? I prefer Jason Day.
So yeah, I got to go Jason Day. I think Decky is hitting it, but when you talk about short game, I do like Day better there.
Let's see. What's your take on Furyk and GPP? Solid off the tee. Heard the podcast earlier this week with the caddy said you can't spray it off the tee, and the guy has experience and having a decent year. I do think of all the old guys, he's probably your best bet. He didn't make my final roster cut though.
Yeah, not for me. I mean, I'm obviously, if you've been watching this show, I'm terrible with predicting someone's age. I don't know if is Grant McDowell considered an old guy?
I don't know how. I feel like Grant McDowell's only like 41. I think he might be like younger than Tiger. I don't know. I'm going to look that up for you though.
Yeah, but I mean Furyk. Yeah. I mean, when you look at this type of course,
Graham McDowell is 39 years old.
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't consider Graham McDowell an old guy. So of the old ones, yes, it'd be Jim Furyk.
Okay. Who do you like better this week, Rafa Cabrera-Bello or Mark Leishman? I like Cabrera-Bello better.
I'll go Leishman there.
Okay. You like the wind machine of Mark Leishman?
Yeah, I do. I think in these big tournaments, he plays well.
Okay. Between Brooks's caddy scenario and his play at majors, if I have him available, is it crazy not to take him and save him for the playoffs? I don't know what that means. I assume that's one and done. If you have Brooks remaining, and I mean, no one else has Brooks remaining, you might as well use Brooks. And if he wins, it's like, not only do you get double like winnings because it's a major, you also basically get another double on top of that because I think every single other person has used Brooks by this point.
Yeah, exactly. The ones that maybe there's someone that forgot to use Brooks and just passed over him. But yeah, I think I used Brooks like in the third or fourth week that he was playing in the season. So yeah, use Brooks.
John Bruce asks, I'm really liking Brennan Grace this week. Talk some sense into me and give your head a shake. One, call me crazy, you're nuts, and I'll be good with that and go with him. Listen, then you're going with him. He has a very good open track record history, even when he hasn't been coming in playing well, but he's been a fucking nightmare so far this season. Like, he has no form to speak of. Like, if he pops, but there's nothing pointing to it.
Yeah, bad putting. I think he's got 2 missed cuts out of the 3 majors. I think in the Masters, he finished like around 60th place. I just like you mentioned, there's other guys in that price range that I'd rather play, so I'm on Grace.
Bryson DeChambeau ownership. I got him coming in around 9% right now, and it really pained me. I looked at Xander, and I was really big on Xander, and I started thinking to myself, well, Xander's going to come in with pretty elevated ownership, and right now I have him projected around 13 to 16%. Then I looked at the other guys around him, like Bryson coming in single digits, Fowler coming in right around 10%, Molinari coming in at like 6%, and Tommy Fleetwood coming around the same as the Bryson percentage-wise, around 9%. So I had a decision to make. Did I want to allocate like 40% of my shares towards Xander, or even 25% and be overweight on the field, or divvy up whatever shares I would have on Xander and play half on Molinari and half on either, let's see here, who was I talking about? Bryson or Tommy Fleetwood. And I decided on Fleetwood over Bryson as a head-to-head that way. But I'm not really out on Bryson. He just didn't make my cut. I did I entered the mini max. I ended up building 150 lineups and playing it. I'm very excited for that. I had for 150 lineups, my player pool was 25 players. So if I hit, I'm going to be looking good.
Well, you tweeted that out that you had like Chan Kim at what, like 15? How many lineups did you have him in?
Total, I actually think I ended up with him in like 19 lineups.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's fun. I mean, so there's 2 parts for me. Yeah, if you're playing these max lineups, and DraftKings has done a really good job on setting this up to where these big major tournaments, they give you a lot of lateral movement in terms of what type of competition you want to play. So check that out. But when you're looking at that, it's interesting, right? Because Fleetwood usually comes in, especially at the British, as someone that's talked about, but just hasn't really been talked about. So the guy that we potentially wouldn't have been speaking about, Bryson, has some really good form, right? He eagled, what was that, the tournament that he eagled to get into a playoff. Like, he's just great form, but a lot of people are going to look at that and say, yeah, he's popping right now. So I do like that call. I'm going to be a little bit more on Bryson because of that form over Tommy, but those are 2 good plays there.
What's your take on Bernd Wiesberger? I like Bernd Wiesberger. He does not have a great open track record, but he did make my player pool, so I'm using I'm feeling the burn, Reid.
I'm not playing any burn. I think people are going to look at recent form, which, again, he won, right? So, but not for me.
Next one. Let's go to Facebook for this one. Let's see. Joaquin Niemann. Yay or nay? Nay for me.
Nay. The pricing came out before, so that's why he's at such a cheap price. He's going to be a highly owned in the 6K range. So for that, I'm out.
Stenson, Scott, Decky, and Kuchar, all above 20%. I will tell you, the top 5 right now, I'll have this up on DK Playbook a little bit later on as well. It's actually in my DraftKings cheat sheet column right now with the top like 6 or 7 players in terms of ownership. But the ones that I have projected right now over 20, the only 2, Scott and Stenson, are the only 2. Now, the fact that I've bet Stenson to win has me reevaluating this entire thing, that I really should have taken Justin Rose, because I always say that Rose and Stenson play well at the same time. Like, this feels stupid on my part now.
Yeah, and this is what I talked about in the sweat a couple of nights ago. I mean, Justin Rose, even though he's complaining about how condensed the major schedule is, I mean, this guy's playing pretty well. Granted, and I think a lot of it too is the caddy that he had, Fooch. I mean, he was with them for what, like 10 or 15 years or 11 years, and then all of a sudden he had to step away because of medical reasons. That's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to get used to someone else. Doesn't mean he's not a consummate professional. This guy was clearly one of the best golfers, of the last 12 months. I think he's ranked at number 4 right now, and he's going under the radar. So I really like Justin Rose as a good leverage spot. I think he's coming in at around 15 to 16%. People are, I think, coming around to that. So, but I like it. I like him at whatever ownership that we're getting him at.
Yeah, I have him, like right now, 15, 16%. He's actually the 7th highest projected owned player right now.
Yeah.
Top 5 in overall percentage owned I have right now. It seems to be like leveling out. It doesn't seem like we're going to have, and I mean, we're probably going to end up having a guy at like 26, 27, 28% in the millionaire maker, because everyone's just going to decide, hey, that's the guy for me, and they're going to go with it. But it's hard to project who. It could be like one of 5 people right now because everyone's kind of in the same price range. But it's Scott, Stenson, Kuchar, Rory, Cantlay. I mean, 4 of those guys are within $400 of each other. So one of those guys is going to be a lot lower owned than we think, and one of those guys is going to be a lot higher owned than I think. If you had to guess, I think Scott's going to be the highest owned.
I think it's going to be Stenson. I think a lot of people are talking him up. His links, just his style of play and his history on the links. I just honestly think it's going to be Stenson.
Okay. How do you guys feel about Adam Scott? Good chalk, bad chalk, rates out pretty good. He's an old man, and he's playing well. I'm in. I'm using Adam Scott. I don't care about the chalk. I've found different ways to differentiate my lineup that I can absorb some chalk with Adam Scott.
Yeah, he's playing amazing. And around the green, I think he's number 1, right, over the last 24 rounds or close to it. And he's just playing fantastic golf. I mean, he's sort of bred for this. And you kind of look at these Australian golfers, and that's why Mark Leishman, I think, and you're just doing your research, it translates a little bit over to links courses. That's why we like him on a little bit harder courses come the PGA season. But yeah, he's playing absolutely amazing. The chalk shouldn't worry you about that. No one's going to be playing Jordan Spieth, so you look at that ownership, it's all going to gravitate towards the Scotts, the Kuchars. But at 8,800, that's a great price.
Would you play Patrick Cantlay or Matt Kuchar this week? I would play Matt Kuchar.
Yeah, same here. I think Cantlay's going to be. I think he's going to be runner-up as one of the higher-owned guys.
All right. What top player do you think is most likely to miss the cut? This pains me to say it, but I think it's Tiger.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, he's got the favorable tee draw for him. You know, it's going to be in the afternoon, so it's going to be a little warmer. But I just think when you look at him, he just looks exhausted too. Even though he's only played a few tournaments over the last few months, he looks tired.
So is Tiger a play or a fade this week? I'm fading Tiger this week. Now, last time I did this was at the Masters, and he won. So maybe this is just the motivation he needs in order to win again.
Yeah. And Jon Rahm is interesting, too. A great links player, but, I mean, at these majors, it's really tough to put my finger on Jon Rahm. I think he might be someone, too, that might teeter on that cut line.
What are your thoughts on Sabatini this week? No one is talking him up. I mean, he is a Euro now, so maybe that really goes to help his Slovakian blood will help him come through at a European major. But I don't know. I think there are just better plays than Rory Sabatini, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, 2011 was the last time he played at the Open. I like Rory. You know, I like Sabs, but not here.
Any thoughts on Andy Sullivan as a good play at 7K? He came up on the DraftKings show. I believe it was Raza who likes Andy Sullivan a little bit. Again, I'm going with Ben An, and I'm going with Lorenzo Vera in that range for me. So he did not make my final cut.
No love for your boy Adam Hadwin?
No.
Just kidding. Yeah, no. Benny On, right? Benny On's right there, so I'd rather go with him.
Do you think that Sergio makes the cut? I do, actually. Sergio's a real, I'm absolutely gutless. I'm a coward, so I'm not playing Sergio. But you really should be. Like, he's coming in at 5% owned. No one wants to play him. Like, he did play well, I mean, at basically his tournament at Valderrama. But he played, okay at the U.S. Open as well. It looks like he broke the skid of, 6 straight major cuts being missed after he won the Masters. So he made the cut at the U.S. Open and just historically plays fantastically at the British Open.
Yeah, in my mixed model, which looks at last 36 rounds in extremely windy conditions, he comes out 4th in that model for me. So we talk about scrambling, strokes gained par 4 and par 5, tee to green, all of that. I like the putts within 5 to 10 or that 5 to 15 feet. I think are really going to matter this week, especially if we get that wind up, the undulations on the green. He comes in at number 7 over the last 36 rounds, and so I really like Sergio as that pivot spot and that price tag at 7,800. I mean, we usually see Sergio a little bit more expensive than this, and so I really like him as a nice pivot play.
Now, let's see. EVR or Griot? If it's that close for you, because I'm playing both these guys, so I can't be super objective on this. I like them both. But if you're just trying to look for a tiebreaker between these two, you can scout out tee times and see who ends up with the more favorable draw at midnight tonight. That's one way to do it. Or just think that EVR is going to come in with 12 to 13% ownership, and Griot is going to be 4 or 5. So does EVR have a 3 times better chance of beating Griot this week? The answer is no to that, so you probably go with Griot.
Yeah, same. I think when you look at the stats, if anyone's looking at Fantasy National, EVR ranks out nicely. I think he showed, the first 2 rounds right at the U.S. Open or the PGA, one of those majors recently that he showed really good form, but just on the weekend didn't show up. I would go Griot over that, just because I think a lot of people are going to be looking at those stats and gravitating towards EVR.
This is such an odd question. Hey, Pat, do you think the final round of the Genesis Open is a fair comparison to wind we are expecting? If so, guys like JT and Scott fell apart, while guys like DJ, Cantlay, Xander, and Leishman all excelled. So it was a bunch of guys who were like out of it versus guys that were in the lead. And that was also the tournament where they had to play like 36 holes on one day, and like people had to wake up at like 4 a.m. to go out. And that's one round. I would never compare an entire tournament of how things are going to play to one round of anything. So no is the answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to doing the research of looking at those conditions on that last round and seeing what if there is any correlation that can cause us to have some luck. But I mean, that's going to be tough, right? This hasn't been played since 1951. It's just you got to take it. I think the better approach is to take it day by day. If you want to play showdown, if you want to get some leverage points on that, that's going to be my take on it. But I mean, trying to predict one round over 4 is tough.
I will have I think we'll do some showdown talk during the live Cut Sweat show on Friday. Smash the like button, people. It goes a long way to helping us come at you live here on the internets for the freeze, not premium. But if you're looking for actual like day-by-day showdown and head-to-head betting content, gupscorner.com is going to be handling all of that this week, and you get yourself 15% off if you use the promo code MAYO at gupscorner.com. So I suggest everyone go do that right now. It's excellent content. I check it out. They have live chats. I jump in there from time to time. It's a great community, and you should really become a part of it. I mean, that's after you become a member at fantasynational.com, obviously. But hey, why not get both? Pair the stats with the advice. I mean, I like to do the stats research myself, but sometimes it's nice to see people who are better at this than me actually have their takes, and I can read about those. Would you go Rory, Bryson, or DJ Rose? I'd go DJ Rose.
Yeah, same here, DJ Rose.
Okay. How would you guys rank EVR, Sullivan, and Wiesberger? I'd go EVR, Wiesberger, Sullivan.
EVR, Wiesberger, Sullivan. Yeah, I'll do the same.
All right, perfect. Day or Hideki, we already answered that one. We both went Jason Day. What is Haotong's projected ownership? I don't know. Let's see.
I think it's 5% maybe.
Haotong, yeah, exactly on the number 5%. So he'll be like within a percentage point of that.
Which I like. I mean, like I said, this guy always shows up. Maybe like if you don't want to go like full boat 125-1, maybe get him at a first round leader. I think he's going out. He's got the AM PM stack. I mean, we always see him at these tournaments pop up. And so if you don't trust him over 4 rounds, maybe look at that first round leader mark.
Dane says, is it a bad idea to take 2 players under 7K? I mean, only if it doesn't work out. If it works out, it's a fantastic idea. I have a bunch of lineups with 2 guys in the 6,000s because I'm going YOLO this week, Reed. I just decided here are my like 18 guys that I like. I'm going to build. Well, I extended it when I built the 150, but just like, here's where I'm going with. If I have a lineup that has Chan Kim and the Jazz Man in it, just look at the top of that lineup. It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. And like the bigger picture is, man, play the guys that you like. If that's part of the fun, right? You can listen to us, and you always say it, like, listen to us and then disagree and pick the guys that you really like. I mean, if you just like the names like the Jazzman and Chan Kim, so be it. But you know, there's some research behind what we're doing. You can use that to leverage yourself against the guys that you want to play against. But yeah, like I said, there's a ton of guys that have no experience at this tournament that I really like, and you're gonna live or die by the sword. Do it.
I mean, it's not just the fun names that I like. I really need to figure out how to pronounce Jazz's last name properly instead of just calling him the sexy jazz man. But he actually has some form coming in here. We all remember from the PGA Championship when he melted a bit on Sunday, but he was still 14th at that. He was at the Asian and Euro Tour combo the week before that. He was T19 at the China Open, then T25, T5, T3, win T3, T26. Like, guy is playing really well coming in, and he did play in the Open. He missed the cut last year, but did get some experience. I do like that too. And Chan Kim, Mr. America, just playing over on the Japanese and Korean tours. He missed the cut at the U.S. Open. That wasn't great, but he's been a much better links player. So here's his form coming in. T8 miscut, second, third miscut, third, 22nd. That's not bad at all. And he had a T11 at the British Open 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, I'm like, what I'm saying is like, choose what you want to, you know, go all in on. And it's not necessarily just the names that, you know, my girlfriend, she picks maybe fantasy football just based off like the mascots, for instance. She actually knows more than I do in fantasy football, so follow her. But like, when you look at this range, right, we're looking at narratives, or we're looking at stats to build some logic or a story behind. These guys that are in the 6K range, they're not the best, right? They're clearly not the best. They're not the best. I know that's going to be foreign to some people, but like, look, like I said, like Romain Langasque, he's got what I think like 60% or 40% top 5 finishes over his 16 rounds. he's coming in top 10. I think he's like one of the top 5 on the Euro Tour. These guys are playing well. So there are some statistics behind some of these picks. And yeah, the Jazz man, he's a good one.
All right. Thoughts on Matt Wallace? Do you think he will be low owned? We've already gone over Matt Wallace, so you can rewind for that one. That's from Vincent Chase from Entourage. Cool.
Oh.
Any love for Adam Hadwin? Not for me. I like Corey Connors better.
Yeah, no love for Hadwin.
Okay. Is Ricky a good play regardless of his recent form? Ricky's a fine play. He's in that Bryson bucket with me. He just didn't make my final cut, but there's so many guys. I think all of those guys basically in the 9K range are really, really good low-owned plays. But again, you can't just take all of them. You have to pick and choose. And I just never play Ricky, so I didn't play Ricky.
Yeah, I like Ricky this week as a nice pivot play. Like you mentioned, I think all those guys are going to be fairly owned. You're not going to see him too low owned because, again, it's Ricky. So I like him.
All right. Wiesberger or Neiman? I like Wiesberger better.
I'll go Neiman there.
Okay. What are your thoughts about EVR? We both like him. That's where we landed on that one.
Yep.
Okay. What's the ownership percentage on Tony Finau going to be? Not high is the answer.
Yeah.
Let's see. Although I was just on Sirius with the PGA guys, and they both like Tony Finau a lot, although the form is disastrous coming in. I got him at 6.5%, so not a ton on Tony. Maybe a decent leverage play, but in that range, although I'm not playing either of them, if I had to pivot, I think I'd take Sergio.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, if you just look at what this course calls for, it doesn't really necessarily fit Tony's game, I don't think, right? It's obviously a thesis that we have to wait to see what happens. But like you mentioned, Sergio Garcia's there. Even down the 76, I like Webb Simpson a lot more than Tony Finau, just because if you just look at his fairways gained over the last 24 rounds, he's close to dead last in the field. And I think that's going to matter. I don't think you necessarily have to hit it straight down the fairway. That's clearly going to give you advantage, but you get it wayward off the tee, and like you mentioned, Amanda, looking at some of those places, it's not just rough. There's also OB pretty close to that high stuff. So that scares me a lot about Tony.
Better win equity, Rory and Cabrera Bello or Xander and Cooch? I think it's Rory and Cabrera Bello.
Yeah, because of Rory. I mean, Rory has a really good chance of winning this.
Honestly, Rory alone, just based on actual win equity and metrics, probably has a better win equity than those 3 players combined.
Yeah, and it's not just like he shot the course record. I mean, he is playing lights out this year. I mean, tee to green, from first to second. Rick Gaiman, go over and watch his stuff on YouTube on this channel. I mean, he mentioned the discrepancy between him being first and second on tee to green is the same as second to 16. I mean, this guy is playing absolutely out of his mind. So just based on, like you mentioned, just based on having Rory in the win equity category, it's going to be him.
Pat, what do you have for ownership on Adam Scott and Matt Kuchar? I have one at 21.5% right now and one at 19.5%. Both fall inside the top 5 of highest owned players. If one of the top tier DK golfers does not top 3, do you think they can pay off that salary? It seems like win or bust with McIlroy, which is spelled wrong. Why would you think that McIlroy is spelled with an E and not an I? That's dumb, Mike. Dustin Johnson or Brooks Koepka? That all depends. I mean, on paper, yes. If they don't come inside the top 3, what you have to spend on them, because they're your biggest win equity guys, that you would need to be absolutely correct with the rest of your lineup, but it's harder to do when you spend that so much salary on someone else. But we know that people are going to take these guys from the top 5. So let's say Brooks, and this is where I'm hoping for, because Brooks is the only guy above 10K that I ended up playing, that if Brooks comes 4th, but those 4 other guys don't finish better than 55th, then having Brooks is going to be essential to winning, because it's just going to be so hard, especially if though. I wish I could say this more eloquently, but I can't, because I'm kind of running a stream of thought here. If one of those guys finishes way better than everyone else, almost regardless of where they come, they're going to be so much more valuable relative to the others that they will end up paying off. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just their finishing positions, right? It's how they score. I mean, we talk about it. This is not the same, but a Phil Mickelson, for instance, if you're just looking at game theory on DK, I mean, a guy who routinely makes a lot of birdies, but also makes a lot of bogeys can give you a score. To what you're saying, right? To your point, getting those guys not just finishing better, but if you can also double that up on the guy you think in that top range who's going to be the lowest zone, DJ's coming in at 12 to 13%. If you're in that camp that has DJ and he rates out and he starts scoring better than those other 2, again, not rocket science, that's going to cash. That's going to give you cash. Even if it's at a -7 or -5 finishing score, even if it's tough conditions, all 3 of these guys, talking about Roy, Brooks, and DJ, all ranked top 10 in birdies or better gained, right? So they can rattle off birdies. That's why they're some of the best in the world. And so, yeah, finishing position, ownership leverage, the two things obviously that will get you to cash, and especially if they can score in the format that you're playing.
How do you feel about the PGA axing the MDF rule for next year? I mean, they're dropping the cut line from top 70 in ties to top 65 in ties. So I actually do like that a little bit better. And this just sounds like the DraftKings lobby and the people out there got to the PGA Tour. They were sick of having to sweat a secondary cut on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's nice. It's going to be harder to get all 6-year guys in, I think. But that gives us more leverage spots in these tournaments like Augusta, right, where it's it's harder to get the 6 of 6. But the regular tournaments, I really like it. I don't like the sweat on Friday where you get your guy in and then you see come Saturday he's gone from an MDF. That sucks. So I personally like it.
Steve asks, Xander and EVR or Scott and Finau? I would actually combine those together and just go Scott and EVR. That would be my preference.
Yeah, I'll do Scott and Finau of those two that were given to us.
Do you like Billy Horschel? Yeah, I think he's a great guy. I'm not taking him this week, though.
No Billy for me. Sorry.
Can you say Ram in that unique way that you do? John Ram is how I would say it. He needs some good vibes. Hopefully that works. I mean, hopefully it doesn't work because I didn't bet him or play him. Any love? Oh, God. I wish I could say this guy's name properly because it would be any love for Christian Bezunhut at $6,500. That Valderrama win was super impressive. I think of like the sleepers that you can go to. If you're looking below like 6,600, take worldwide pedigree. Like the other thing about like when I keep bringing up Jazz, but like the guy's the 53rd ranked player in the world and he's $6,600. Like the rest of the guys that he's lumped with are like the 300th best player in the world. So, I mean, I've done that before. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's how I ended up with Kadira and winning all that money that time. I think this is a decent spot for my boy CB. That's how I'm gonna say it. I gotta ask Baroff because I know Baroff knows how to say it properly. But yeah, if that's the way that you want to go, that's the way that you can definitely go. Like I'm looking at this range right now. Like Ryan Palmer hasn't missed any of his 3 starts at the cut at the U.S. or the British Open in the past 5 years. I thought that was odd, but like I would take Otagi above him. I would take Bezengerhut over like Glover and Keith Mitchell and those type of guys. I just would. Like, if we're in Europe, I will take the Brits with all things being equal. Or the Euros with all things being equal.
Exactly. Like you mentioned, Palmer maybe is the only one in this range that kind of sticks out other than the guys that you just mentioned. But yeah, Christian, I believe, Bazunhut, I'm butchering it completely, but his number one club, too, in the bag is a driver. In some of the interviews that I watched with him, really cool story. Guy's a starter, and he's coming out and doing a lot of these interviews to really curb that and just become more comfortable with that his public persona. So kudos to him. But he mentioned the best club in his bag is a driver, and if it's not like a aggregate stat like ball striking, I mean you're gonna need to hit your driver or off the tee game in the fairway and the short stuff. So at that price tag, absolutely.
Top fade in the upper tier would be Tiger for me, and who's going to be the lowest owned player above 10K? That answer is also Tiger. What are your thoughts on Chez Reavie, Reed? I kind of like him. I didn't end up using him, but I do kind of like him.
Yeah, he was the last cut for me. Maybe just because I liked having him as one of my touts for the U.S. Open. Yeah, I mean he's playing really well. Obviously won first time in like a decade, but he's not making my core.
Lucas Glover at $6,500 will miss the cut. How about that? Yeah. Negative
on Glover.
I actually have him on a bunch of buy too. I made a few because just putting Tiger onto a miss the cut parlay just juices it so much. Maybe I'm getting sucked in by it, but like I have Lucas Glover and like Chris Wood and Lucas Glover. Maybe I'll just go play that as a parlay and bet a whole bunch of money on it because I don't think those guys make the cut.
Chris Wood, I didn't even know he was playing.
Neither did I. He's missed. I wrote him up in my Golf Digest column as a head-to-head. It was a head-to-head him versus like someone good. And I was like, and this guy, I think it was like Otagi or something like that. No, someone better than Otagi. Anyway, it was like minus 130 to bet against Chris Wood, who since last November has played 12 tournaments, missed 10 cuts, DQ'd once, and hasn't come better than 57th in any tournament.
What? The ranking? What world ranking? How did he qualify for this tournament?
Maybe he may have played a sectional and got himself in.
Yeah. Okay, then yeah, just fade Wood and Woods.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It kind of sucks. Chris Wood actually has a really good open track record. It's like the Brendan Gray situation. Like you look at their performances at this tournament year after year after year. It's like they're always kind of good, but like they're piss poor coming in. So I'm going to go with that a little bit. No Morikawa, no Wolf, no Hovland. sucks. Any love for Doc Redman, who's down at 6'2"? I mean, his name's not Chan Kim, so I don't care.
Yeah, no love for him either. Sorry.
Does EVR see the weekend? I certainly hope so. A lot of Lucas Glover. This guy has asked the same Lucas Glover question 3 times in a row. You're banned for life, pal. Fuck off. Clogging up the chat for people with real questions. Darren Clark to make the cut in his home country. I mean, I don't know why we would care about that.
No, he's hitting the ceremonial first tee, but sorry, Darren. Good story.
And you know what? He might have the ceremonial first drink after the cut line, too, at the bar next to the club.
Best hair, though. Best, like, hair/beard combo, I think, on the Euro Tour. So,
yeah, listen, Darren Clark on the Fox U.S. Open broadcast, at least in years past, has been, like, the best analyst going. Just get the guy on TV. He doesn't need to play in these anymore. Did Chan Kim make your core? And what is his ownership? His ownership is going to be, like, 0.1%. But, yeah, he did end up making my core. In my, like, overall, I played 21 lineups in the Millie. I believe he's on 2 or 3 of them. So Chan Kim, let's do this.
I really hope, I'm not playing Chan Kim, but I really hope he makes some waves this weekend for you, because that would be, will that be on the same like plane as the Kodaira call?
Well, I mean, if I win all the money, sure.
Oh yeah.
Like if Chan Kim wins the British Open, watch Chan Kim win, and I don't have a 6-6 with him. You might never see me again.
Well, it's nice knowing you if that's the case.
But if he comes inside the top 20, it pays for the week. Well, actually, more than pays for the week. He's like 16-1. So I hope he comes inside the top 20. That would be great. Leishman, Pepperell, or Usti and Reid? I like Leishman and Pepperell with those two.
Yeah. I'll go Usti and Reid.
7,000 and under, Sung Jae Im. I don't know if that's a fucking question, John, or like what your fucking deal is, but fuck off with this stuff. Ask a real question. Spieth completely fade? I did not completely fade Spieth. I used some Spieth because I'm a sucker.
I was gonna say that's a sucker move right there. I'm completely out on Spieth. I mean, look, this is his best major. I think Augusta. I think a lot of us think it's Augusta, but I think it's second since 2014 on Fantasy National and strokes gained total, only to Rory. I mean, he loves this tournament, so I see it, but that's just the current form. The form all season really is not there for me. So out.
Decky or Stenson? I'm taking Stenson.
Yeah, Stenson.
Okay, Cantlay or Bryson? I'll take Bryson.
Yeah, I'll take Bryson too.
Yeah, this fate of Cantlay is really going to come back to haunt me. I can feel it right now. Painful to ask, but is Spieth worth an ownership flyer in a GPP like the Million Maker? I do think he actually is. That's why I ended up playing him. Like right now, I got Spieth coming in at 6% ownership. Like 2 lineups out of 20 is more than enough for Jordan Spieth, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, and the price tag, again, we'll look at that and say it's really expensive for Spieth, but like you're mentioning, it's a great price tag for the ownership because everyone's going to be in my camp. I'm sort of swimming with the masses here that you're just going to fade him because of his current form. But at 8,900, like you mentioned, 5-6% ownership is going to be great. It is, like I mentioned earlier, it is second best or maybe best major that he plays at.
Stenson and Kuchar too chalky to use in the same lineup? I don't think so, but it depends on what you do with the rest of that lineup, obviously. Like, you need to find a spot to save some ownership. I think that Tambo really put it best when I wasn't yelling at him on yesterday's show, that it's not really about ownership on any one individual player. It's about the aggregate ownership of any one lineup. Like if you can keep your aggregate ownership to around like 65 to 80%, you should be good. You leave like $100 or $200 on the table, and then all of a sudden you're probably going to be unique even with chalky guys in your lineup. Like there's so many different combinations that I wouldn't worry about that too much. At least I'm trying not to worry about that too much because I feel like it's been very detrimental to my picks.
Yeah, I think it's been a running theme throughout all of our shows this season, and just even last year, is that shrinking not shortening, but condensing your core. There's the word I was looking for. Is really the play here, because look, you're gonna absolutely miss. You're gonna absolutely miss in some of these calls because, like you mentioned, the Stensons. These guys, look at the beginning of the season. Stenson missed 3 cuts in a row on the European Tour. So these guys have that in them, but at the same time, when you hit and you have 70% Stenson in like 50 lineups, 60 lineups, however much you're doing, that's going to pay out for maybe 6 to 8 months, whatever that number is of how much you're playing, whatever the frequency of what you're playing at. So like you mentioned, it's an aggregate. Be different somewhere else. Those cores top, have a stance on them and then scattershot it down below. That's what I do.
Yeah,
every week.
And this question kind of goes to it. This is from Boban. How many chalk players is too much? Had 80% of lines with Cooch, Scott, Stenson, and Cantlay, then saw the Fantasy National ownership projections. Now it looks like too much. can low-owned 5th and 6th guys make it okay? I do think that can be the case, because especially at a major and in the Millie Maker in a field of 156 players, that you're going to be able to get guys that are like 2% owned and 4% owned. So it's not that big of a deal. You just need those guys to come through with you along with the other ones. And if you end up playing 80% of lineups with those guys in them, or like let's say you have 50%, 50%, 60%, 60%, whatever it might be, in different combinations of those 4 guys, you're still massively overweight to the field. That's the best way to play the chalk if you're going to do it. Like, you don't really want to have, hey, I'm playing 10 lineups, I'm using 1 can't lay lineup. Like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you're going to do it, you play 5 or you play 0. That would be my best advice for it. Then you find out the guys to fill out the back end of it. Rory narrative so strong that he is thought of as too chalk and comes in with low ownership. I don't think so. I think that Rory is going to be the highest owned guy above 10K by quite a bit.
Yeah, same here.
All right. Webb versus Patrick Reed. Who do you prefer? I'm playing neither, but I prefer Patrick Reed.
Between those two, I like Webb.
Okay. Are you using any Webb?
I am. Yeah, I like Webb this week. I think when you got short game and some other of the harder type course narrative, I think Webb is. I think those two guys I really like in terms of the hard course narrative or the windy conditions, but Webb would be in I'd say about 10% of my lineups, 15%.
Okay. How about Andrew Putnam? I liked actually the way that Andrew Putnam played last week at the Scottish Open. Played really well at the U.S. Open, too. Rode a hot putter, played well the next week. I don't mind him. He didn't make my cut, like I said. I really tried to condense down there and really go low in the 6K if I was going to do it. So Jazz is the same price. I prefer Jazz. Putnam's ownership is actually, I don't want to say hefty because it's not, but compared to the rest of the 6K guys who are all like 0.5 and 1%, Putnam's coming in at 5%. The other guys that are like higher owned from down there, Palmer and Glover. Glover's carrying like 7% ownership. I find that shocking.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, it was not on my radar from the start or even now. But if you look at Putnam, I mean, he is riding a hot putter, man, too. He is really putting it very, very nicely. Brought that over last week or the week before. And his around the green game is a little scary. He's not losing a ton, but he's not gaining any. But that putter, if he can ride that putter, we kind of see it with Sam Burns, that when you're putting this well, it can mask a lot of the other stuff. We talk about ball strikers not putting well, who can have a sort of an equal putting week. But I like Putnam in that sense. He's not going to be on my radar, but if you want to play him, ride that hot putter.
Tom M talks about weather and tee stacking. If you want to hear about that, just rewind all the way to the beginning of the episode. That's when we covered the weather, the tee draws, and the best way to play those. And to sum it up very quickly, it's going to be day by day with this stuff. Like, I wouldn't try to project out what Friday weather is going to look like, because that can turn on a dime. You wait to put in your lineups until like midnight tonight, see how the early wave is going to play out for Thursday. And just if there's one big discrepancy, like there's no wind in the morning and it looks like there's a ton of wind in the afternoon, just focus a lot on those early wave players, or do the opposite. Trying to project too far into the future. I've just watched the weather change every 20 minutes here, trying to update it all week long. So it's really tough to go with from that perspective. Day by day, head-to-heads, showdown contest, first round leaders, and Thursday is really all you can look at this moment. Reeve or Palmer for a GPP? I think we both like Reeve, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, Palmer is some looks, but between the two, it's going to be Reeve.
Any love for nasty Nate Lashley or Andrew the Beef Johnston? I have no love for either of them. I mean, I like them both, but I'm not playing them.
Beef actually has a decent per round stroke average at the Open, or I think the minimum 8 rounds when I was looking at these stats. But I think he's like top 10 or top 12 at the Open. It was a great story. He's been playing like absolute garbage, and then he qualifies from last week. So that's kind of cool. I like Beef. I think he's probably going to make it. I haven't started on Fantasy National, but he's probably going to be a last cut of mine. If you want to play him, I don't mind it.
Let's see. Thomas Peters, Mike Lorenzo Vera. Please talk about this guy's ownership. I mean, I'm not playing Thomas Peters, so I don't even know what his ownership is. I assume most people are sensible and not playing him. But 4% for Thomas Peters, and Lorenzo Vera, 4.5%. And I prefer Mike Lorenzo Vera. Koepka has gained an average of 14.1625 strokes on the field in majors, but only 6.25 strokes at the Open. Is this stat enough to push you away? No, it's not.
No, it's not either. Yeah. It's Brooks.
Yeah, okay, come on now. I'm not falling for this don't play Brooks trap anymore. Any love for Adam Hadwin this week? A top 10 bet? Light your money on fire. I mean, I do it every week. It's fun to do, so you go for it if you want to. Not for me.
No Adam Hadwin.
Poulter or Fleetwood? Fleetwood.
Yeah. Or even is like Poulter's what, at like the 7? Yeah. He's 77. No, it's going to be Fleetwood.
Yeah, just take the guy whose odds are 3 times better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with a higher win percentage. Playing Evil Kuchar or too high owned? I'm playing Evil Kuchar.
Yeah, Kuchar is playing really well. Probably the best season of his career. Really like Kuchar this week. Ownership doesn't matter. Play him.
Matt Wallace or Gary Woodland? I'm playing neither. I am playing Louis.
Oh, Gary actually plays really well in these coastal courses. Can birdie with best of them. So I'll take Gary in that spot.
All right. I would take Gary over Wallace, though, in this spot between the two. Yeah. But I think Louis is right there. He's the play. And of all the majors, is ownership spread out the most in the British because so many different styles of golfers can compete? Yes and no. It's more spread out towards the top, and there's a precipitous drop-off because I think a lot of people don't know who half these players are because it's the British Open. There's so many international players and European Tour players in the field that everyone just kind of collectively, who people know from like the PGA or even some of these majors before, is like 10% to 20%. But just the way that the pricing worked out this week with those 5 guys all between like $85,000 and $9,000, that everyone's ownership is just going right to that spot. So, and I think that's a product of people don't know a lot of the guys in the low 7s or the upper 6s, and they're just like, screw this, I'm not doing it.
Right, exactly. And I think that's where you can get your leverage. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of guys in that 7K range that I don't like, but there are some really good ones. Like you mentioned RCB and some of these other plays, even Danny Willett. I mean, if the weather gets like shit, Danny Willett is someone that you got to keep your eye on because obviously when he can pay out at Augusta for you in Feinberg there, when the weather was bad, when it was a low scoring Augusta, I think that can be a little bit like what potentially we'll see here. Not necessarily the same course or the conditions, but that archetype of player, the Danny Willett's, Kevin Kisner's, I think those are guys you should look at as well.
Patrick Reed's ownership looks like it's going to come in around 11%. LP says, sorry I joined late, but smash the like button. Thank you, LP. Everyone should smash the like button. Any thoughts on Chris Wood? Oh, we went over Chris Wood. He's trash. Don't play Chris Wood. Bet against Chris Wood. Rory and Griot or Scott and Hideki? I'd go with Scott and Hideki, I think. I do like that Rory Griot combo, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I first thought of Sabatini and Griot. I was like, no, that's definitely going to be the other one. I like that Roy Griot. I think that's a nice little lever spot that you're going to go down there with Griot.
Any interest in Burn Rat? Nope.
No, zero.
Okay. Let's go to the Facebook chat again. Jump back over there, see what's happening. Cantlay or Kuchar? I like Kuchar.
Kuchar for me as well.
What are your thoughts on Sabatini this week? No, I already answered that one. Thursday PM, Friday AM is favored split. Currently, agree. Well, we went over the weather, and that is not what we concluded. So thanks for not listening, asshole. Still feeling Leishman and RCB if the weather is benign. Yeah, I think that they're good enough players to come through, but the weather's not. We're not going to get 4 days of great weather. It's just not going to happen.
No.
Poulter or Lowry? Neither.
Ooh, between the two, Poulter. But yeah, given the choice, none.
Yeah, I'm starting to think Jimmy Walker is getting it going. I'll take a hard pass on that.
Yeah, talk about trying to keep it in the fairway. Walker is not your guy, so yeah, don't play Walker.
Thoughts on Willett and Noren? I bet Willett, and I use Willett, and I have nothing to do with Noren, so I like Willett.
Noren, he was one guy that I looked at a little bit. He's playing, I don't know what it is. I hope he comes out and he says, like, I was injured or I had, like, case of the dizzies over the last 12 months, because talk about someone who was in the top 10 and just a precipitous downfall. I don't even know where he's ranked now. His around the green game is fantastic. If you just look at the rolling report on Fantasy National, it's fantastic, but that's all he's got is the around the green game. Everything else is complete garbage. So, like I said earlier, I like Willett. Norn, maybe, but it's not for me.
Thoughts on Woodland? Haven't heard much about him. I think you kind of hit on it. Are you actually going to use Gary Woodland, or do you just prefer him in that head-to-head?
I prefer him in that head-to-head.
Okay. I think he's interesting.
Yeah, because especially with like past winners, especially like Gary Woodland, who wins and then goes like away for 6 to 8 weeks, and we don't see him. He misses cuts at like the Rocket Mortgage, which is understandable. But I think he's when you look at his game, especially at this type of course, I think it sets up nicely. I think he hit that 3-wood, keep it in the fairway, keep it in the short stuff, and he still has a modicum of that putting success that he had at Pebble. I think he can contend here and he can get in that top 10.
Thoughts? No, that's the same one. Neiman or Fratelli? I'd go Fratelli, but I'm not going to play either one of those guys.
Neiman, but yeah.
Xander or Cantlay? I'd play Xander.
Xander.
Thoughts on Shane Lowry? Don't like him.
Yeah, no.
Matthew Fitzpatrick a play. What are you, new or something? Matthew Fitzpatrick can fucking take a hike. Play him and just lose all your money.
Guy who should play well at tournaments, he should play well, doesn't. But yeah, no Fitzpatrick.
This guy says, who are the best players in bad weather? I like Phil Mickelson. Well, it just shows you know nothing about people who play good in bad weather, because Phil is not one of those people. Phil is the opposite of those people.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say that, like, baseline versus performance in bad conditions, DJ is probably the best player.
Yeah, if you sort by windy, like I said, windy conditions, guy DJ like ranks at number 1 in all like main key metric and strokes gained. He's going to be my heaviest owned guy from the top there. I just think he's in a perfect leverage spot at under 15%. So it's a fantastic play for ownership play for me there.
DJ Decky or DJ JT, which is the better start? I like DJ JT better because I like JT more than I like Hideki.
I'll go DJ Hideki there.
Okay. Oh, you don't like JT? How dare you? What do you think is the more relevant stat to look at this week? Strokes gained off the tee or scrambling? Scrambling is never a stat you should look at, so off the tee.
Yeah, don't look at scrambling. Yeah, off the tee. I mean, if you want to go even further down, I think fairways gained, or total driving, if you want to. That's fairways gained and driving distance.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the scrambling. Scrambling is more of a what happened stat, not a predictive stat, is the reason that you don't look at scrambling to figure out how to project out going forward. Like strokes gained around the green, strokes gained putting, proximity from inside 100 yards, that kind of stuff is more telling and consistent on a week-to-week basis because there's no context to scrambling. Like if you put the ball OB off the tee, all of a sudden you're scrambling. Well, you're not going to make that one. I hate to tell you. So it's that kind of thing. Thoughts on if Mayo will be the only one using Siwoo? I will not be using Siwoo on DraftKings. I've just bet Siwoo to win with the top 8 each way. I don't think many people are going to be using Siwoo here. He looks awful recently.
Yeah, he's sort of back to his true Siwoo form, which is good for us. I mean, if there's some tournaments out there before the FedEx playoff starts, his numbers are going to be where we like Siwoo. But if you're playing him, you're going to be the only one playing him.
Is Sungjae a fit for this course? Not really.
Yeah, I think he needs some more experience under his belt at this course or this tournament.
I currently like him better at Birdie Fest. He did play well at Valspar, which was a tougher track, but it seems like no matter where Sungjae goes, he's either good or bad. Like it doesn't really matter what the course fit is with him. It's whether he decides to show up that week and be good. I know that's a very like reductive way of thinking, but just looking at his stats, like some weeks he's losing 8 strokes with his irons. The next week it's like he's gaining 5. It's like there's no consistency with him.
Yeah, I mean, par 5 scoring. So if we think that par 5 is strokes gained par 5 is a key metric of ours, he's top 10. But if you look at all the other ones and around the green, he's really, really good over the last 24 rounds. But if you look at all the other ones, man, he's struggling quite a bit. He pops, like you mentioned. He might be, he might be Siwoo Light, right? Where he's really good at some of these tournaments and then absolutely shits the bed in some of the other ones. But at that price range, right at that 7,000, you got Benny Ann there. You have Answer, who can hit the drive really well. Some other guys that we like, they already mentioned.
AM or PM best, I would say rewind at the beginning of the video, watch our weather report. Thoughts on Keegan? Nope. What metric should I use on Fantasy National to make a showdown lineup? Hey, Fantasy National is up to you to figure out what to do, pal. I'm not here to just tell you what to do. If I knew that, I would keep that to myself, and I would do it. So why are you even asking me for this one? But that's the best part about Fantasy National. You dig around, Reid, and you find out what actually matters to you.
Yeah. I agree. Concur.
All right, back to YouTube for a second. Actually, probably for the rest of this. Is Furyk a good play? He's fine.
Yeah.
John Rahm ownership, I got him around 12 to 14%. A lot of these guys have been off for a month. How much of a chance of rust do you see being an issue? I think it means more to guys like Tiger than it would to someone like Webb Simpson. Yeah,
I think so as well. I mean, and these guys are professionals. I don't think rust really plays a deal because they can get out there, they can practice. Competitive golf different, but these guys are the best in the business.
Let's see, Matt. Well, we already did that one. I'm trying to scroll back up to where we were at here. Thoughts on Eddie Pepperell? I like Eddie Pepperell. I'm using a lot of Eddie Pepperell. I think that he comes in kind of sneaky here in that range with a lot of good American players. But if we're just looking at links, we're looking at current form. He has 2 top 5s in his past 4 starts. I like Eddie Pepperell a lot.
Yeah, he's a fun one, man. Eddie Pepperell's one of my favorite golfers, not just like to watch, but social media, obviously. But for me, in that price range, like we talked about earlier, it's going to be Danny Willett. It's going to be Webb Simpson. Pepperell was the last cut of mine, especially because I like Webb a little bit more, especially when we get in these tougher conditions.
What is Usti's ownership going to be? I have him between 6 and 7% right now, or 6 and 8%. Sorry, that's where I would have him coming in. What percentage of your lineups are weather stacking? I have around 20% of my lineups as full micro stack, so 5, 5, 5, and 5.
Yeah, I never like to do weather stacks too much because all the guys that I really like are the PM/AM stack. This one is, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, this one's going to be really tough to call. So I'm playing it a little bit loose with the weather stack, not really focusing too much early on. Once we get Thursday and Friday, I'm going to be looking at Showdown and definitely playing those weather stacks.
Let's see. What price would you bet Phil outright to win? Probably like 200 to 1.
He even said he came out and said earlier this week that he's not going to win. He's just here to have a good time, basically, and do his fireside with a half-naked Zach Johnson.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was funny. That's great. But yeah, no, he doesn't think he's going to win. He's only drinking coffee and water, and he's losing 20 pounds. He's not going to win.
Are people remember when that was the thing with Brooks? Like, oh my God, Brooks will never win again. He lost weight. It's like, all right.
Yeah, exactly.
then
he lost weight for the body issue. Yeah. Stupid.
Are people looking to fade Webb since he hasn't played much? What's his ownership percentage? People are not fading Webb. He's coming in as one of the higher owned players, around 15, 16%.
Yeah. I mean, he's consistent, right? He's one of those cut equity guys. He's consistent. He's going to be highly owned.
Any sites out there that can break down terminology such as strokes gained and tee to green? What do these stats mean? I mean, try PGA.com. You can just find the glossary.
I think they break it down specifically what all of those mean. So just go to PGA, and then there might be a section there for all that.
Yeah, it's under stats. Tim, what are your thoughts on Matt Wallace? We talked about that pass for us. How hard will Portrush's greens be? Do we need to focus more on skilled putters? Is there a such thing as a skilled putter? We know there are unskilled putters, but is putting a repeatable skill at a moment's notice?
Negative. You look at Jason Day, probably one of the best putters that we've seen currently over the last 5 years. One year he finishes first on the PGA Tour. The second year he finishes like 65th, right? I think that in that interview that you're doing, that's what you guys were talking about. I mean, he's one of the best, and it can switch. He can go 60 spots to the worst in that category. So no such thing.
Thoughts on Charles Owl III? Terrible open history, but great form this year, and I assume less than 1% owned. I'm pretty sure he's not playing.
Yeah, he withdrew very early on.
Yeah. So... yeah. Pass.
Yeah, pass.
Pick one between EVR, Furyk, and Griot and Wiesberger for that last spot in a single entry. Let's go with Griot. How about that?
Oh, I thought you were going EVR and Furyk there. I was going to say I think we're going to disagree on that. But yeah, I like the Griot one.
I would actually have Furyk last of that bunch. I'm using the most EVR, but that's only because his ownership percentage is coming in way higher. I just think Griot is just a nice play. He is.
I like Griot a lot this week.
What do you see for ROM ownership? Already did that one. This guy says, you ever see them answer your question? No, and no one will see you answer this question because you're banned for life. Fuck off. Brooks's ownership. I have him at 12% ownership coming in right now. Campillo or Robert Rock? I would take Jorge Campillo.
Yeah, Campillo's playing fantastic. If you look at the Euro Tour, he's got some solid finishes. He ranks out top 20 in a lot of these categories on the Euro Tour. So Jorge Campillo.
If we're not getting to your questions because we've previously answered it, Rose, Kuchar, or Brooks for the one and done. At this point, just use Brooks.
Yeah. If you still have Brooks available, we mentioned that already.
Who are the 5 most owned in the projections? We've already went over that. Do either of you guys know much about Oliver Wilson? I know I took him out of my Euro lineup last week to play Gavin Green instead, and if I hadn't done that, I would have won a ton of money, but because Wilson made the cut. No, I don't know a ton about him, to tell you the truth.
No, me neither. I'm not playing Wilson.
Louis or Lowry? I'll take a lucky Louis.
Pains me to say this because this is Ulrich's boy, but I'll take Louis there.
Any love for McDowell? He's overpriced.
Yeah, he's too much narrative coming through.
Cameron Smith, all caps, question mark? No, pass for me.
Does that constitute as a question just because he had the punctuation?
I mean, I guess so.
I guess so. No Smith.
See, now this is a good note. Chris Wood qualified as one of the last 3 BMW PGA Championship winners. That's how we got in.
Got it. I didn't know that. Makes sense, actually, yeah.
Lashley has great scrambling numbers. Any love for a PGA Tour winner at $6,300? Well, I've already kind of told you about scrambling. No. Pass on. Fantasy National does love Nasty Nate, though. So people like to believe the stats, like to believe the site versus me, which they probably should believe the site over me. They like The numbers like Nate Lashley a lot. I just don't.
Did we run the simulator on the Open? Did Nate Lashley come in like 4th or 5th to win this?
No, he came in like 17th though.
Yeah, so, I mean, for a 6,300 guy, it's pretty good. No, Nathaniel Lashley for me. Sorry.
You guys doing any lives with over 10K guys? I'm not, because I only played Brooks above 10K.
I might look at trying to pair DJ and Rory, but I'm getting that Chan Kim range just a little bit too much. But right now it's just DJ for me.
Only playing 10 lineups. How many players would you put in your player pool? That's up to you, but I'd try to stick between 10 and 12.
Yeah, same here.
As few as possible, usually the best.
Right.
Jones or Thomas? I don't know who Jones is.
Robert Trent Jones? No, I don't know who Jones is either. I'll say Thomas.
Yeah, I'll take Thomas over Jones, the mysterious Mr. Jones. This guy is just talking about shit, so you're banned for life. Clogging up the fucking chat. Fuck you. Is Woodland someone you want to get a few shares of if he's lower owned than the 8K guys? I mean, I'm taking Louis in that spot, like I keep saying, but no Woodland for either of us, but I get it. Bryson, major track record is trash, but he is rounding into form. Okay, that is not a question. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Els or VJ? Any love? No.
No.
Any love for the Barn Rat? No. Okay.
No.
Do you think it's possible to win this week by fading everyone over $9,000? It's possible, probably not probable.
Yeah, no, you might find the winner under there, but the win equity up top is way too good to pass up on.
What do you think of the Chan Kim Leishman RBC low costing core? I love it. Could not like that more.
I was gonna say that's right up your alley. Yeah, if you like those guys, there's some guys in that the two of the three that I like. You can rewind back and see which two of those three, but yeah, I don't mind it at all.
Do you like Willett as a good pivot off of RCB? I don't like pivoting off of RCB. I like just taking RCB. I think that's probably the best move.
I like a pivot and showdown if you want to, not before the tournament. I'll go RCB.
Will you be tweeting any to make the cut and to miss the cut parlays? Yeah, like 2 hours ago. Thanks for not fucking checking. Nobody talking about Woodland. For people not talking about Woodland, the entire fucking chat's about Gary Woodland. So take that for what it's worth. Thoughts on Xander ownership and projection? You can scroll back and find that. Decky or Kuchar higher ownership? I got Kuchar.
Yeah, same here. Even with the higher price in most of the majors that we see Kuchar, he's been playing too well.
This guy is now answering people's questions. No one really cares what you think. You can go join Kevin H's chat if you'd like, but no one will because no one gives a fuck about what you think, pal. Really keen on Wiesberger. What are your thoughts? I like Wiesberger fine. I used him at 10% of my lineups. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people are going to be keen on Wiesberger. I would like to know if he didn't win, or again, like a top 5, for instance, last week, then how keen would we be? He's a good player. We see him pop in some of these bigger tournaments, but I'm going to be on Wiesberger.
All right, let's go to the bottom here. We got like 10 minutes left.
There we go.
Any consideration towards player who putt well on slower greens? By all accounts, these greens are going to be super fast, and they might lose control of them because of the wind. They might have to slow them down. So I wouldn't put any stock into that. So
yeah, same here.
One and done strategy. Does it make more sense to use Rory this week as the favorite or later when he will possibly be less owned? Most people have used Rory. Don't worry about who's used what. This is the biggest prize pool you'll have left all year. Use your best player.
Yeah, if you have any of those guys, any of the top guys we talked about, just use like the salary ranges. Any one of those, use them.
Snedeker has been pretty hot and cold this year. Decent record at the Open. Actually, he's been pretty hot and cold at the Open too. I am using Brandt Snedeker this week, so I'll say that.
No, Brandt Snedeker. Already got like a Webb Simpson type guy in that range. So no for me.
Rose or JT for one and done? I mean, I love JT. Rose is probably the correct answer though.
Yeah, I've already used both, but it's going to be Rose for me.
Thoughts on Haotong? Thoughts on Sullivan? We've went over those two guys already. Both were a pass for me.
I like Haotong. Pass on Sullivan.
RBC or Leash? RCB or Leishman? RCB for me.
Ooh. I'll go Leishman there.
Which Brit will pull an upset? Probably none of them. But Wallace, Pepperell, or Fitzpatrick? I like Pepperell the best of that bunch.
Yep.
All right. Jason Day or Louis? I'll take Jason Day.
Ooh, Jason Day.
Thoughts on Paul Waring? We've already talked about him. Snedeker or Stenson? I'll take Stenson.
Oh, yeah, Stenson.
Why do I have 80% Lorenzo Vera, you guys? I don't know. It's a fucking problem you have to deal with.
Come on.
Is leaving $500 on the table too much unspent? I do not think so. I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
There was another question about, is leaving 2,700 too much to leave on the table? The answer is yes, probably.
Yeah.
No one will have
So,
that.
yeah.
No one will have that lineup. Unfortunately, that lineup's probably not going to be very good.
And you mentioned it earlier too. We kind of talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago, is that you'll see, I think Gaiman puts out the optimal lineup and you'll see it, right? You made some good points. You'll see that some of these guys, these lineups are like 1,000 to 1,500. You got to take that with a grain of salt, just because when you're doing these lineups, it's going to be really tough. I would say out of the majors, it's easier because of the price. The prices are so soft, but the most I'm ever leaving off at any tournament is about 500 to 600.
Let's see. Abraham Answer ownership. Lucas Beauregard ownership. I have Answer coming in around 3%. I have Beauregard less than 1%, if that's someone that you want to go to. Rose, Xander, Cantlay, and one and done. I'll take Rose.
Rose, Xander, Cantlay. Yeah, in that order too for me.
No one is playing Answer, boss. Stop it. Okay, that is not a question. That means you're fucking banned for life. Get the fuck out of my face. Aaron Wise. I don't like Aaron Wise, but if you do want to correlate a team of like all players that are just really good off the tee, he and Answer would actually be two good cheap guys to put into that lineup.
Yeah, and then I mean Wise too can score birdies. So if the weather doesn't, change for the worse, I don't mind that. We saw him pop at a hard tournament, the US Open. But this is a different beast. I'd like guys that have a little bit more experience. If they're not like if the Euro guys that I talked about, they don't, but they have experience on links courses. Wise, I want to see more of this style of golf out of them.
Scott or Spieth? I'll take Scott.
Yeah, Scott.
Okay. Horschel, top 10 DK points? No.
No.
Zach Johnson or Wiesberger? Wiesberger.
Yeah, Wiesberger.
Andrea Pavant, love? Yes, I actually do. I have him as first round. I have him as one of my first round leader plays. And you can find my entire cheat sheet on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and you can find the link in the comment section of this video. J Day is 32-1 to be first round leader. Any love? I don't play any first round leaders that are below 100-1. So that's just not a part of my brand, not a part of my first round leader strategy. Would you play Jason Day as first round leader?
I've played some of these shorter guys. I just, like you mentioned, I don't like it that much. They really pay out that well, so I won't.
I like this. What do you think Kuchar first round later due to the later start for him? Weather might be better then, although it does look like the weather's going to be better in the morning. This is why the weather is so tough, because people are looking at different places, different things, and apparently it's telling you different information. So it's a lot of just noise right now, people. Any Kokrak love? No. Heard nothing about Russell Knox so far. What do you think? I'm going to continue to play the trend of not talking about Russell Knox.
Yeah, no for me as well.
Okay. If putting in 5 or so lineups in the Millionaire Maker, would you go balance with all approaches or stars and scrubs? I'd probably go stars and scrubs. That's way more fun.
Yeah, especially in the Millie, you got to differentiate yourself. I mean, it's a lottery ticket, right? It's you gotta get some of these guys that are gonna hit the mark. So stars and scrubs for me as well.
Are you fading anyone purely due to high ownership projections? Not really. Like, I talked myself into Brooks over Rory, and I talked myself into like Stenson and JT over Cantlay. I'm not avoiding them because they're at high ownership. I'm avoiding them because I like the other guys around them better. The
only place I'm fading high ownership is in like below the 7K. That's just a rule of mine that I always do as well.
Ownership on Zach Johnson, I have around 4 to 5%, coming in very, very low. Are you betting a top Canadian? Yes, I did. You can check out the cheat sheet or me saying it at the beginning of the show. Would you go to the gym if they didn't have 100-pound dumbbells? Yeah, of course I would. You think I'm curling 100 pounds? Please. I'm working my 5s and my 10s out there.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not you. I mean, I've worked out with you before. You're out there. You're curling like 100s.
No, I was going to say, I like how you went straight to the curl exercise when you're talking about 100-pound. Just that's what you do with like dumbbells, which is true. I don't see anyone. But no, of course you're going to a gym without 100-pound dumbbells. The most I've ever curled is probably like 40.
Yeah, 40's tough. Like if you're going for like a max like 5, like sets of 5, like 2 sets of like max lift 5, you get up to like 45, get up to 50. But if I'm doing dumbbells, it's only for like presses. If I'm doing bench, it'll actually be on a bench. Unless I'm doing like an incline or the ones like in between. But then I want smaller weights for that because it's harder to control with my forearms. It's bad news. No, I don't need 100-pound dumbbells. Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short. There are some pictures out there where you were at the 3M or whatever tournament that was in Minnesota. You're looking good, Pat. Don't try and sell yourself short here. Come on.
Well, I don't have time to do cardio anymore, so I can just do the weights. I can pop in and out for like 30 minutes. I don't need to go for an hour run. I'm getting beefy, Reed. What can I tell you? I'm not like you, who's going to the gym at like lunch every single day with Emerson.
Oh God! Don't even bring that up about Emerson in the gym. That's all that guy does, man. It's just like shred weights.
Yeah, well, you can tell the guy looks shredded.
Yeah.
A prediction on what Tim gets the most triggered by this weekend. I don't know. I really hope for some reason they don't do like they have to like split the tee times. He'll lose his fucking mind. It'll be awesome. Favorite 7K or less player on DK. We've went over that. Molinari or Leishman in a GPP. I love Leishman, but like Molinari's better than Leishman is. He's also $2,000 more expensive. So if you can afford it, take Francesco Molinari.
Yeah, exactly.
Redmond in his play at his price. Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm not using him, but other people seem to like him enough. Cabrera Bayo ownership. I'm curious about this too. 12% right now for Rafa Cabrera Bayo. Top 3 cash plays. Don't play cash. There's the top play. Pat with the silver weights and matching wrist and headbands. Exactly. Yeah, I work out like an 80s aerobics video. That's what I'm doing. Thoughts on Putnam. We went over that. Thoughts on Finau. We went over that. I think we've basically hit everything here, Reed, to tell you the truth.
There we go.
And I know you got to go do fantasy football stuff. I actually released a show with DJ Jazzy Jeff Radcliffe earlier today, right? Jeff Radcliffe from Pro Football Focus, one of like the top minds in football. So I suggest everyone go check that out. It's a pretty good show. It's up on the Pat Mayo Experience YouTube feed right now. It's on the Pat Mayo Experience audio feed. And hey, if you people are still watching out here, I mean, you enjoy the show or you like hearing me yell at people, one of the two. I mean, whatever way it is, or bad workout tips with Pat and Reed, guys who aren't in great shape. But if you go and re-download the podcast this week, that would be a huge favor to me. I want to see if we can make the show that I did with Jeff earlier this week is trending to be the most downloaded non-football podcast I've ever had, which means close to 150,000 people have downloaded and listened to the audio podcast version. So if we can like juice the numbers up there a bit, I'd like to have the most downloaded one I've ever had for golf. That would be fantastic. So if you guys can do me a favor on that, and that'd be nice. Oh, we got a few more questions here. Lorenzo Vera or Streelman? Lorenzo Vera.
Yeah, same.
Poulter or Leishman? I'll go Leishman.
Ooh, yeah, Leishman.
Jazz to make the top 20? Well, I bet that. And I bet him to win, so he's probably going to miss the cut. Any love for Justin Harding? No, thank you.
Nope. Poulter
and Putnam in the same lineup. Bad? I would say sad, but yeah, bad works too.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Fight to the death with the Tour Junkies. Which fantasy analyst is your sidekick? I mean, I'd probably just take Reed at this point. I mean,
there we go.
But I mean,
Feinberg's got some heat. If you talk about
there's no way in a fight I'm taking Feinberg with me. Listen, I mean, I love David, I love Pat, but I think I can handle those both guys. Although I think they're from like Alabama or something. So they probably have like or Georgia. They probably have guns.
Augusta, yeah.
I'm Canadian. I don't have guns, so that would really work against me. I've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. I know how that discrepancy goes. Poulter to make the top 10. Don't think so. Abraham answer thoughts. Should have tuned in earlier, pal. Answer EVR.
EVR.
Thoughts on Keith Mitchell? Pass. Revier Zach Johnson? Pass.
Yeah. No.
J-Day, Rafa Cabrera, Bayo, and Cantlay solid core. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. Where is the fat cute guy that likes the Chargers? You mean Jeff?
Ooh, looks like I'm an exiled.
Yeah. I mean, you looking like Jason Day / Ricky Fowler doesn't do it. They just want Feinberg. More Feinberg.
It's got better hair than everyone. So come on.
Kang? I took him as first round leader, so I hope that works out. But anyway, that'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Reed, are you going to be updating your site?
Yes, I will be. I just wanted to see a little bit more on the weather job, but that should be out later today. Just follow me on Twitter, Reid Fowler. All the links to videos, everything is going to be there. Throughout football season, Pat's been doing it. It's obviously gearing up. We're getting close. I believe rookies, they have to report to training camp either today or later this week. So all that stuff on DK Live. But Reid Fowler everywhere.
All right, Wallace or Leishman? I'll go Leishman. Scott or Scheifele? I'll go Adam Scott. JT or Bryson? I'll go JT. Those were the last ones in the queue there. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and the Facebooks at the PME. You can find my betting cheat sheet on all of those platforms and in the comment section of this video. If you just want to give it a quick click, boom, go download those extra podcasts. Like I mentioned, if you want to get into a draw for $20 DK, I just gave away $1,000 on this show. So congratulations again to all those winners. And bleh, who won the annual membership to fantasynational.com. But for next Monday, when we recap this show and look forward to the WGC, if you smash the like button, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, give me your favorite play above 50 to 1 to win, boom, you're in the draw. 5-star review on iTunes, DK handle, something nice about the show, boom, you're in the draw. Follow me on Insta at the PME, like one of the golf photos, leave your DraftKings handle under it, boom, you're in the draw. That easy. Good luck at the British Open. Someone who's not me, I mean, preferably me, but someone out there, you or Reed or whoever, someone go win $1 million. And maybe Jeff will keep up his hot streak with the bets too. It'd be very nice. Maybe JT can just win and we'll all win, and that would be fantastic, but we'll see how this goes. You can just hear me bitching and moaning about how I lost all my money again on Monday, but hey, one of you could win those $20 for the DK draws, all right? I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.